Okay, so now that we've talked about the first impression, now we're going to talk about the first three primary principles of human influence. Have you ever wondered why certain things happen, why certain companies are able to sell more than others? Well, welcome to this module. You're going to learn what the first three primary principles of influence are. The first principle is a principle of influence called reciprocity, which is really just a fancy term for when you give something, people feel inclined to give you something back. Have you ever been to the mall and you see the people at the kiosk and they're saying, "Sir, please, soap for you, soap for you." They're trying to give you something. Well, here's why. If you take that item that they're trying to give you, whether that's a sample, whether that's a free small bar of soap, then what do you feel inclined to do? Subconsciously, you feel inclined to, at the very least, listen to what that person has to say, if not, even buy from them. So it creates a sense of subconscious obligation. So in your sales process, think about how much you can give someone via information, via pamphlets, via, even if it's just a pen whenever they come into your establishment. Think about how much you can give to your customer to make them feel subconsciously obligated to purchase from you. The second principle is the principle of authority. Have you ever walked into a doctor's office? Many of you have, and hopefully it wasn't too serious, but what's the first thing that you see on his wall? The first thing that you see is his certifications, his credentials, his degrees, his diplomas. Have you ever wondered why that was? Well, here's why. When you see someone as the authority or the expert on a subject matter, then there's a small part of our brain called the amygdala, which is used for short-term memory and short-term responses. Well, that, at that point, shuts off and you begin to see that person as your amygdala. In short, you begin to trust their thoughts, their opinions, more than you trust your own. The reason why is because they're viewed as the authority or the expert on a particular subject matter. So think about with your consumer, with your prospect, how can you establish yourself as the expert? By how you carry yourself, by maybe having some of your credentials readily available, either verbally or on the wall in the establishment when you first walk in. Establish that authority and you're sure to see your sales go up. The third principle and the final principle that we're going to discuss in this particular segment is the principle of scarcity. It's part of the humanistic nature to want something that you can't have, or to want something that isn't as readily available as other things. I'll give you an example. There was an airline who was actually having flights from Beijing all the way to Australia. Now, this flight was never sold out during the entire airline's history. So they made an announcement. They said, "Hey, we're actually going to discontinue this flight. It no longer makes sense economically for us because no one's taking it. So we're going to cancel this flight in the next 2 weeks." The moment that that announcement was made, within the next 2 weeks, that flight was completely booked, completely sold out. Why do you think that is? Here's why. The principle of scarcity means that people are inclined to want something that they can't have. So the moment that flight became scarce, then the sales skyrocketed, and that flight is actually still in existence today. Thank you so much for tuning in to this module. In short, remember, reciprocity, scarcity, and authority. Go get it.